Hello everyone, good day. This is like a continuation of the Fast API tutorial. So in this particular episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to use SQL model. We are going to try to learn how to persist data with this thing. In our former one, we were only storing the data in a dictionary, whereas anytime we anytime we try to like refresh or change anything in the code, all changes we made to the data will just default back to what we have here already. So here now we are going to try to like save this in a particular database. So we're using SQL model for this now. So the SQL model is based on SQL Alchemy, SQL Alchemy, and Pydantic. So it uses type hinting the same way Fast API uses it, and it was created by the owner of Fast API. That is the creator of Fast API. So yeah, it is so let's start using it now. Okay. So to work with SQL model, you first have to install it. So to install it, you open your terminal, your VS Code. You make sure you activate your bash environment. If you're using Windows, you do vmv slash script backslash actually slash activate. If you're on Mac or on Linux, you most likely do source vmv bin and activate. Right, so that's that for that. So yeah, now in our virtual environment, we want to install SQL model. So we do click install SQL model like this. And this shouldn't take that much time. So while it's installing, I'm going to create a new file here called database.py. I could have just added everything here, but thing is that it's going to be okay. Let me just add it here to start with. So to create a new fast API stuff, to connect SQL model, to create a new SQL model stuff, to connect SQL model to our database, we have to create an engine. So to create an engine now, we have to say, all right, what is the URL of the database we want to use, what kind of database we want to use. So for this particular example, we're going to be using um SQLite. But as I've said before, I'm going to try to make it as production-like as possible. So we'll be using PostgreSQL, Postgres as everything goes. So now let us come here to import SQL model. So from SQL model here, we are going to import create engine like this. So this is what we are going to use to create our engine. So to create our engine now, we first things first we need to we need to say where particularly we want to let me remove this to its own file. Sorry, I want to clutter this place. So from SQL model import create engine. So you have to like say okay, what database URL are we going to use? So you can just come here to search for SQLite database URL or something like that. Database URL. I want to show you that it's not something that is special like that. You just have to create it by yourself like that. So you see the way they write it SQLite and then the path to where they want to create it. So that is how we write SQLite database URL. If you're using PostgreSQL, you come here like this Postgres database URL. So you see how it is written. Let me zoom in. We have Postgres, then we have your username, we have your password, then the host and the port and database name. That's how we would do if we're using Postgres. So that's that for that. So since we're using SQLite, let me just create a variable here that stores it. SQLite file URL like this, which is equals to so you see here so we have SQLite here, then our colon and three slash here, the name of the file we want to save it to. You can name this anything, but I'll try to name it database.db. It must end with .db or .SQLite like this. Either of the two is alright. So that is that for that. So now we have our database URL now. We have created our engine. So to create our engine, we say engine is equals to create engine like this, and then we are going to pass in our URL, which is here like that. And here also you could add some, you could make it echo, like it should echo issue whatever we do, you should print it out to the terminal. So I'll be doing that. Let me clear this, sorry. And here let me come here to echo this for sure. Then I think connect as, so I want to like, so this particular settings is only for SQLite. If you're using Postgres, you don't need it. If you want to make, you don't want it to check same thread when you're using SQLite like this. So we have to add that to that place. So basically this is our database engine. This is what we need to, this is what we are going to use to connect our database. So now I want to create a utility function. That utility function will help us to create all our model in the database like that. So let me import SQL model from here. So I'll just say the create DB and tables like this. And here I'll just say SQL model like this dot metadata dot create all. And then I'm going to pass in the engine. I'm going to bind the engine with it. That is that for that. So the engine basically is like, okay, is that basically telling us, all right, what are the options you want to use to connect to this URL? What is the database URL? So it's basically like in like the options for the database. If you are using something like PSQL, you have to, you are going to pass your username, your password, and this thing. So it's in this create engine that you're going to set everything, the options and everything for the database like that. So now that we have done that now, so we want to create our models. With our models now, let me just put the models.py here. So our models now are like they are what we are going to use to come to represent tables in our database. So they are Python classes. They are going to represent tables in our database. So to create a model here, we have to import SQL model. So from SQL model import SQL model. Notice that it is in Pascal case. So I import it in Pascal case like that. Now I've imported it now. Let's start using it. So apart from that, also we need to import field to be able to use it like that. That's that for that now. So now let's create our first model. So our first model is going to be item. So this item now is going to inherit SQL model like this. And also we want to make table equals true here. I'll explain this in a second. Let me just come here fast. The reason why I'm making this table is equal true is that if we don't set this table to be true like this, SQL model wouldn't create in our database. So this basically represents that, oh, all right, this table is supposed, this item is supposed to represent a table in the database. If this is not here, it isn't going to represent that as, it isn't going to create it in the database. We feel it's just a normal class. It's just a normal class in this place, in this case. So now our item now, we are going to have the ID. So our idea, as I've told you before, we SQL model uses type inting. So with type inting, you can just add here and the type of the listing, which is going to be an integer. So what I want to do is I want to make this ID optional, because when you are creating a new item, you don't want to be able to pass the ID now. So to make that happen, you have to say from typing import optional like this. So now we are going to make ID to be an optional integer. So whenever they are creating a new table, you don't need to pass it. Now we're going to say, okay, it's going to equals to field like this. So this one is going to default to whenever they not pass it. So you say the default is going to equals to none. It's going to be default to none. Primary key is equals to true like this. That's that for the ID. What another thing we need here is to name string like this. We don't need to add any equals to field like this. You automatically know that it's supposed to be a string. We also want to know that the price is going to be a float. I think that is all for that, and that's all for the item now. So to create this one, so to create this table to make it show in the database here, you can just come to main.py like this, and yet just import from models. So what have I done? Import item like this. It's important to import the item before you try to. It's important you import the item before you try to create the table. So now we are going to import the create DB and stuff from this thing. Let's say from database import create DB and tables. This utility function we are done in this place now. So now make sure make sure you must have make sure you must have imported this one before you import this one. You understand? So here we are going to run okay at app.startup. So want to make something that whenever our app starts, we want to add an event. So to do that in Fastapi, I will do at app but on events like this and the name of the event which is going to be startup. Then you create the function that will run whenever startup is. So we want to run create DB and tables whenever we start up our application. So it is that simple and then let us just run this. So to run actually you have to come here and say uvcon main app and reload. So you okay. We notice it pours out what it's running. So like create table item, ID, integer, name, background, no. So basically this the reason why we are seeing this here is because of we had written echo equals true. And now it has created the database file for us here. I think I have a DB browser. Sorry about this. Yeah. So let me just show you what it has created for us. We open here back in database to code tutorial fast API database of SQLite. So you see we have our item here, we have ID, we have name and price like that. So notice that I imported this before I run this function. If this one was never imported, it wouldn't have seen that model there and this thing. And notice that for everyone you want for every class that you want to represent in database, you must put table equals true. You understand that? So since we have that already, we can go ahead using that instead of using this one now. So first thing first is to delete this one. So now we have to rerun this one like this. So what first thing we want to do is items. So first things first, let me pass this here now. To be able to query stuff from our database, we need to we need to have a session. So session is used to connect with our database. So to create a session, we need the engine as usual. So let us come here to create an engine to import the engine. So from database here, to import engine like this, and we also need to import session from SQLModel like this. From SQLModel import session like this. So we have imported session like that. So to use it here, we are going to do something like with so we have to do something like session equals to session like this. Then we are going to say session, we are going to bind it to our engine. Then we can use it, we can do something like, or let me just call this DB instead of session. Then we can do something like query equals DB doc. Let me just type this for myself. Then do something like DB doc query. Then here I want to query the item like this. So we are passing that class that I want to query, and then we want to filter. We want to filter by the item price. So I want to say something like item dot price just the between. So the price should be in between these particular values, where the minimum price like this and the maximum price like this. So that is that with that. So once you have gotten that, don't check if search like this. So once you have done that, query equals query dot filter. So we want to filter whatever we have gotten here and then get the ones that the name contain the search value that has passed in. So like query equals query dot filter like this. So here I'm going to pass in item dot name dot contains whatever search we have passed it. Then once you are done, want to return the query dot all like that. So let me just come here, page down instead. Let me just yep. Let us test what we have gotten here. Let me come here, group one, then house put 8,000 slash dots. Just try to get all the items like this, try it out, and then execute. So we have 0 items there. So okay, all right. Since we have that already, let's try to implement one that creates items because we need items to work with. Or we could just come here to create some few items. So let me just come here to create items. So I'll pass in the name. Let me say milk like this, and the price is going to be 900. Oh, so to do this, I have to click on that one here. And like new. Then the price here, yeah, the price here will be 900 like this. I think that's that for that, and then write the changes. So I can add another one here. Just do another one for meat. Or let me use meat. Let me see something like bread. The bread will be for 1,500, something like that. You write the changes. So that's that for that there. So let's try to get everything again as usual. Let me execute this. So you see execute. So, yeah. Okay, alright. So the thing here is that it is giving me maximum price of 100 at first, where I don't want that. So I should rather do something like so I should rather remove that also. I should make that let me make that one. Let me make that um optional. You got so let me do something like optional float. If it's not passed, it should be none. It should be optional. Sorry, what have I done? Optional float. So we don't always need to. Sometimes you don't want to get everything regardless of the price. Optional float like this. So you want to say is equals to none here like this. So let's rerun this part. So we want to like so we want to first get audio query. Now I want to check if search, if like guys, if they want to search anything, then the same way we have done it before. We check if minimum price and do query dot query. See, I think you understand. So query equals query dot filter the item dot price like this. We are going to do look for if maximum price also like this. That's that for that. And here I want to return query dot all. So I think this should fix our problem. So let me just execute here. Alright, so execute, then reload. Sorry. Okay, so you see I have milk and I have um bread in this place of this amount. So that's that for that. So I can get all items like that. Let me implement another method to create an item instead. Let me just delete everything I have here. And then we do want to create an item. Add the post, remember post is to create, right? So you do slash items like this. Status code should be 201. So we want to change the status code to be created. Remember when I talked about HTTP status codes? So if you check here, you see 201 means created. So you don't just want to return okay, but want to return created instead. So that's why we have status code here should be 201. So right there. Create item like this. So in this place, we want to receive an item. This thing. That's, let me type this out. So we have this here. So once the session here, once we first create the session equals to session. Like another thing we have here is that we must always close our session, which I didn't do in this place. I was supposed to do. So sorry about that. Don't read all and here. Do like sorry, TV close instead. So yeah. So this one will avoid errors concerning our database. Or another way to do it that it will automatically close the database by ourselves is just to do something like this instead. Let me just copy this particular one here. Then let me just copy our what we have done here. Then I want to do something like with session, write a with session, this session engine as preview like this. So this one will help us. It helps us automatically close our database. So we'll just implement everything over there again. So here also we'll just do something like with um session engine like this. Then once we first create items, so something like item is equals to item like this. Want to turn this one to a dict. So after that one there, we are going to do session dot add item. Oh, let me name this DB to avoid confusion. Sorry. I'm doing like db dot add items. So you want to now commit it. So whenever we add something to the database, it doesn't automatically add it for us. If you notice in this place here, whenever I click here to add something here, let me say I want to add jollof. So I have jollof there like that. And then here I wanted to add what do we want to add? Let me say 5,000 here like this. So you notice I have to press write changes here before to apply in our database. Let me confirm that by coming here and trying to query our database, then execute. You see we don't have jollof here, but here let me write changes here. So basically then let me try to execute this again. So you see it has added our jollof. The thing is that when we have added it, it first stays in memory until we commit it. That write changes is basically saying that okay, now we have it in memory, help us to commit it, help us to write the changes. So you say db.commit in this place like that. Once you have done that, I want to return the item. So I want to return item here like this. And I think we are done already. So here that's that is all. And here let's try to create an item, sorry. Let me reload this. So we have the post here. Try out. So here we are saying that it's explaining us the person ID. ID is supposed to be automatically generated. So we don't have to pass it. Let me just come a schema. So you see that where is it at? Sorry. Item like this. Let me reload this, I'm sorry. About all of this. Oh, that's the response. So here. And so you see every other thing I are compulsory, but this one in particular isn't compulsory. Reason being that like I added optional there. But the thing is that we don't want them to be able to pass the ID at all. So in order to do this now, we are going to have several models. We have one model that we use when we are creating a database, one model we are going to use when we are outputting the database. So to do that, we just have to come and create a class like this. So this is our class. We are going to call it item base. We are going to call it item create rather. So item create like this will inherit from SQL model. So you see item create as everything but ID, because when we are creating our item, we don't need the ID like that. So here now, instead of receiving from item like this, we can just say item create instead. I hope you understand. So then here let's come here to reload this. So here you see we are not expecting the ID again. We are only expecting whatever we have inputted here. So we are not expecting the ID again. Let's go to schema. Sorry, that's not the schema. So let's check the schema. You see we are only expecting these two that we have in this place already. Let's try this one out and let's try the string. Let's say we want to create fried. Let's say we want to create potato or 200 like this. Let's execute. I've executed that response body. Why is our response body empty? The reason why our response body is empty is because of we haven't refreshed our item before we did. We are just putting an empty item. So to make it show that we have done, I'm coming. Let me show you that it has been created first in the database. Let me try to refresh here. It has been created. The thing is that the reason why we are not getting it because before we can use whatever stuff we have done here, we have to refresh it. So as when say digital refresh item like this, as we want to get the updated item from the database, we want to get everything like that. So let us come here. Let me just delete this one. Let's delete here. Let me just delete on my keyboard and then comment, write the changes like that. So once you have deleted like that, let's come back to Chrome and then execute it. So you see we have received back our with our ID of one everything. We have persisted that data like that. Let's try this one out, try it out, and then let's search. So we have all our four. Even the benefit with this, let me clear this now. Let me start it all over again. Let me that if I come here now and I try to execute again, I have my potato still, I have my jollof rice still. So everything is persisted. Let me refresh for you to see that it works. So try it out as usual. Then execute. So that one works here. So let's try all these filters. I won't try them since I've implemented them. That's when I want to get the one with the minimum price of 500. So potato shouldn't be part. Let me execute this. Yeah, potato is in part. Maximum price of 1.5 like this. In this particular place, jollof shouldn't be part, but others should be part. Yes. So that's that. So let me now search for let me search with name here. Let me just search the one that starts with JO and execute. So you see we can search already. So everything works as usual in execute. Yep, it all works as usual. That's that for I'm creating an item and to get all items. So another one we want to implement is I want to implement. So let me just list out the major stuff we want to implement while creating a REST API. The major route you want to implement, you're going to you always want to implement the get route. You want to implement another get route also. So we are going to have several get routes. We also have two actually. This one is to get all items like this. Yeah, get all items. We want to get items with ID. Item ID like this. So these two gets we want to create that's for post. We want another one to edit to update items and want another one to delete items. So these are basically the five ones we are going to. So we have implemented this one. So let me just come here and say done like this. We have implemented this one. Let me come here and say done like this. So let's implement this one now. So to implement that one, you just come. Let me just come below this one and create another add your get slash items like this, then come here to def get item and item ID like that. So I want to first check, want to say with session. So sorry about this. So with session like that, I want to query the item. So we are doing item dot get. The reason why we are not doing filter here. The reason why we are not doing that like filter. So we want to do filter like this, then say item ID, item to item ID. Because the reason is that we have the SQL model, we have a simple function that if we are going to query, we are going to filter by the ID by the primary key, we can just use dot get to filter it. Now once you have done that, I want to check if the item exists. If the item does not exist here, I want to raise an HTTP exception. That's item not found. After that, they want to return the item if it were found. If it was not, if it wasn't found, we will have this. Let me comment to reload. We have implemented that like this. Let me come and try it out, and let us try to get one that doesn't exist first. 10 does not exist. Detail not found. Error not found like this. Let us comment to get the one that exists, which should be one exists. So yep, that works as we wanted it to. So another thing now is let us come here now. Okay. Another thing now, let us come here. Everything we have here, we want to when we are creating a an API, we want to be able to, want other people to know, all right, what are they expecting? Here we said, okay, right, once you get everything right, expecting a string. But what kind of string are we expecting? You see everything is like this. So to give an example of what you're expecting, we can say, all right, we want to create a response model. Response model is more of like once what kind of response are we expecting, the schema of the response we're expecting. Something like response model like this of if you want to return a list like this, you want to return a list of items. The same way we can do optional, we can do list also. And from typing. So we are going to import list from typing also from typing import list. The same way we import the optional. Let's come here. Let me reload here now. So you see, in our schema here, we have a list of items. So you see it here. That's basically that for that. So the thing here now is let us come here, let's press schema. Our ID isn't compulsory, whereas every time we return an ID, is always going to be there. So what's the point of saying it's not compulsory? I'm just confusing the front end developers, those that are using it. So why not just let us come here to create another new to create a new class for when item is going out. Item out like this. So SQL model. So here we don't want table to be true like this because of obviously table is not true. Here we don't need all these ones. Our int is not going to be optional this time around because we are expecting it to go out like that. So here instead of saying list of items, say list of item out. Let me reload here. And here let me come to schema. You see our everything is option, everything is compulsory like this, which is better for the guys that are working. For the guys that are working, if you now come here, you notice something is wrong. Our We are not following the dry principle, the do not repeat yourself principle. We repeated name and price there. We repeated name and price there. Repeated name and price there. So the problem is that we are repeating stuff several times. You might not see the problem here, but let us say we're creating a very, very long model. So we're creating a model of a user where we needed the username, email, password is active, is boolean, about 10 or this thing. Then we are going to write the 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. The thing is, all right, now let's say we wanted to change one here, so we have to change everywhere. Let's say you forgot to change in another place, and we are going to keep having errors, having errors, having errors. So what we can do here is just create a base schema here that everything is going to use. Let's say item base like this, and we're going to pass in SQL model like this. So let me remove the tags and everything. So what is that thing that is so what we are going to do is everything that is going to be common in item create and our item out is going to be included in our item base like this. So once we have done that here, so item create is just going to inherit our item base like this. But since we have done it here already, we don't need to do anything here, so we just pass it item create. So here we are going to inherit from item base as well. But here we have implemented name and string in item base. We don't need to implement them here already, but we need to implement the ID because it is not here. The same thing with this one also. We are going to do that and we are going to do for item base like this. That's that for that. So everything should still work as usual. Let's come here. Let's come to schemas. The schema here, item out. Yep, it works as we expected. So alright, that is that for that. Um let us add the response model to other ones. also. So we have added the response model to get all items. Once we have created an item, also want to add a response model now. Now, our response model is instead of going to be is to be a list, just going to be one. So we are going to use item out directly. Once we are done with that, you can now come here also. This one is also going to be item out directly. Response model like this with item out like this. So that's that for that. So after that one, I want to create one. Want to create the one for updating. So we'll do at app.put like this. Then let me just create a def update item. For updating item, we need to get the item ID and we need to get the item this like this. And here let me pass. Something with updating our model is that we don't want to use the create one. We want our everything to be optional. So they might decide to update the name but not update the price. So what we can just do, what we can basically do here is just to create a new um let me just bring this one down here. So alright. So we can decide to create a new schema here for basically for just for update. We say class item update. So we are going to instead of passing, we are going to say name. Instead, we change name from string to optional string. We're going to remove the 40 equals none like this. Here we are going to say price equals to optional float also. So here instead of doing item float, we are going to do item update like this. And once we have done that here, we are going to say with session as usual. Session engine as DB. So alright, okay. I think we are going ahead. Item equals db dot query item dot get. So basically, what we are the same thing we are doing here. So after we have done that now, and we have checked that the item is here. What we want to do is we want to update. So we want to also to update here. We can say item now is equals to item dot update. But here we now want to pass the bit of what we want to update here. Then we are going to say exclude. So all those ones that weren't passing, I want to say exclude. I want to exclude them. Exclude on set equals to true. So the ones that weren't passed shouldn't be there, shouldn't be passed in. Let me say is equals to none as default. So I have to sneeze. Sorry about that. I'm not feeling alright, Sha. So that's that for that here. So basically, what is exclude equals to exclude on set equals to true is that let's say all the optional ones that weren't passed, we just remove them without resetting their name in the database. So once you have done that, now I want to add the item like that. Do we want to add the item? I don't really think we need to add the item like that. So a bit of comments. Once you have committed, you want to refresh the item. You want to return the item like that. I think that is that. Let's try this out. Sorry about this. Let's try to update one. So what is one actually? Sorry about this. So let's try to first get one to see what particularly we are updating. Let's update one. One is milk. Okay, let's change milk from 900 to 500. So we don't want to pass in the name. So we want to pass this to change it to 500 like this. And execute. Internal server error. I knew something was wrong. Item object has no attribute update. Alright. So I think I know what's popping. When you name this DB item instead, student set equals to true like this. What to do is for keying item like this, we want to like set the attributes of DB item to key item key. So basically what we are doing is like, okay, whenever let's say we are in the first we are in this first one here, where is it at? We check price. All right. So once we are in price like this, we are going to sorry about this. We are going to try to set price. So we are going to set ATTR of DB item. This DB item is of this one. So we are going to set the price of this one like this. We are going to set it to whatever the key is, which is going to be 500 like that. Once we are done with that, we have to refresh. So we have to commit and then we are going to refresh. Sorry, db.refresh. So I think this should work now. Press execute. Yep, it works. Let me check here. Let me confirm. Yep, it's no longer 500 for no longer 900 but 500. So that is that for updating items. That might be complicated. You can just try to go through it, try to understand it. If you don't understand, you can come here. I think they should have, yep, they should have tutorial, yeah, update data with fast API here. You can try to come here to understand what just happened. So alright, so that is that for that. So here now let us come to just try to delete an item. But after delete as usual, we are going to pass the item. The delete item like this, and after that one, what else are we going to do? We are going to run with session engine as usual. So I think we are going faster than our pace. So this one as usual, check if it exists. So if it doesn't, if it exists, we will run delete item like this. Once you have deleted the item, we are going to commit it and we are going to return a message that the item has successfully been deleted. Just come here and let's reload this instead, and let's delete item. Let's try it out. Let's try to delete the milk. Let's execute this. Milk has been deleted. Let's check here if it really has been. Yep, it has been deleted. I think that's that for that. So if you now check this before we finish, before I stop, if you check this, we notice something. So you remember I said we are not following the the dry method. Do not repeat yourself every time I say with session engine and DB, with session engine and DB everywhere, which is kind of stressful. So fast API has something called dependencies. So with dependencies, you can like write code that is going to run before like your main route run. So what we want to do is that we want to create a dependency. Yes, we want to create that dependency will be def get db like this. So here instead of returning engine, we want to say with session engine as db build. Let me try rather. We want to try to yield db. Once we have done that, we want to, finally we want to give it a close. Close it db like that. So now this is what we are going to use to get our session, to get our db here. So let me import this one here. Get db. So once we have imported that, instead of doing this with session here, we need to import depend from fast API also. So we're going to depends like this. Once we have done that there, instead of doing db like this, we are just going to depend on db. So we've done db is going to equal the type of session like this, and we are going to depend on get db. You see this is basically what we do to depend on stuff like that. So now to use it, we don't have to do with session like this. Db is automatically there. So let me come here and let me just do shift tab. You see, we don't have to do with session there. So in this place also I have to do db session and everything. Everything will still work normally without that with session like that. So that is a big relief. So since we have our stuff there now, let me do this also, this session like this. I hope you don't have it. Sorry. everything will work as usual. So we just reduce the amount of code we are going to write. Let's try to get items. Everything still works as usual. Let's try to get a particular item by ID 2. Remember we deleted one, but it's still there as usual. So everything works. So we just use this method to reduce our workload like that. So all right. I think that is all for now. I'll be uploading this code to my GitHub. The GitHub link will be in the description somewhere or in the info of this video somewhere. So, alright, have a nice day. Goodbye.